Alright, so we're going to start by learning how to draw the spaces and intervals of the shoulder, and the way that I like to do this is by drawing my boundaries first. So we're going to start by drawing our humerus and the long head of the triceps, and then I'm going to add in the teres minor superiorly and the teres major inferiorly. So we can quickly go ahead and label these so that we were on the same page. So we have the humerus down here forming the lateral borders. We have the long head of the tricep forming this border here. Then the teres minor is the more superior teres muscle, and then the teres major underneath. Right, remember both of those are inserting into the humerus over here laterally. So now with this, we can start to identify that we have a couple of different spaces. We have our quadrangular space that is going to be located here. Underneath the quadrangular space, you have your triangular interval. So remember, this is the interval, not the space. And lastly, we have our triangular space. Okay, now, important to know, within each one of these spaces and intervals, there is going to be a vessel that we're going to need to know. And then the triangular space and the quadrangular space and the triangular interval are both going to have a nerve as well to keep track of. So going through the borders and the structures that are going to be within each one of these spaces, we're going to start by looking at the quadrangular space here. So the quadrangular space, the lateral border is going to be your humerus. The superior border is your teres minor. We have the medial border, which is going to be the long head of the triceps, and the inferior border here is the teres major. And the two structures within this space that you're going to need to keep track of, the artery is going to be the posterior circumflex humeral artery, and the nerve is going to be your axillary nerve. Okay. Now, in the triangular interval, which is directly beneath the quadrangular space, we still have the same lateral border of the humerus. The medial border is the long head of the triceps, but now our superior border is going to be the teres major muscle, and that gives us this triangular interval here. And the two structures that we want to keep track of, the nerve is going to be the radial nerve, and the artery is going to be the deep or profundus brachial artery. Because remember, all of these are from the posterior view of the shoulder. Then lastly, in our triangular space, remember the triangular space has a superior border of the teres minor, which you can see here, inferior border of the teres major, and then our lateral border is the long head of the triceps. And the structure that we need to know located within this space is going to be the circumflex scapular artery. So, going through all of these quickly one more time, when we talk about our spaces and our borders, I'm just going to redraw it how I would do it on test day as we talk. We are going to have the lateral border of the humerus. You have the long head of the triceps, teres minor, and teres major. That's going to give us a couple different spaces. We have our quadrangular space, triangular interval, and our triangular space. Within each one of these spaces, we have different structures that we need to keep track of. In the quadrangular space, we have the axillary artery. Triangular interval, we have the deep or profundal brachial artery. And in the triangular space, we have the circumflex scapular artery. As far as nerves go, there are two that we need to keep track of. In the quadrangular space, you have your axillary artery coming posteriorly to innervate the deltoid muscle and the teres minor. And then in the triangular interval, we have the radial nerve going along the posterior aspect of the humerus to get into the extensor compartment of the arm. And with that, that is how we would draw the spaces and intervals of the shoulder.